My name is Brittany Williams. I'm one of the study abroad managers at the International Center. I currently advise for programs in all those countries that are listed under my photo there. And I'll go ahead and pass it over to Nena to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nena Kosova. I'm the newest member of the team. I just joined about a month ago, although I have been with USD for almost 3 years now. I was in the School of Business, and you can see the countries that I advise for right under my name.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christy Blue, also one of our study abroad advisors, Africa, Asia, France, Middle East, and I do some of our C programs as well, semester at sea and C semester. So great to have everybody here. It's a very important topic, talking about finances and how you can make this happen for yourself. So we're excited that everyone's here.
We are going to start with an exercise. For this exercise, we would like you to be open to a study abroad page. Nena or Christy are going to go ahead and post in the chat the link to our semester program pages. If you have an open application, go ahead and just locate the program that you've applied to. And we're going to go to that specific program page. For students who don't have an open application yet, and you're here to plan ahead, which is awesome, we love that, you're going to want to just pick a program or maybe a country that you've been to and you enjoy, or one that you might be interested in for study abroad. And we'll go ahead and try out this exercise. So Christy posted the
very wild link.
The program page if you don't have it already, and we'll walk you through a couple things. So we'll also have Nena here pull up our program page as well to show you where you can find the links for this exercise. What we're going to be doing is we are going to show you a cost comparison of what the average cost in dollars, or here in the US, maybe specifically San Diego, are for certain common items like a hamburger, a coffee, things where you can compare, okay, that may be a normal price in San Diego, but that's what the price would be at this country abroad. So for our example in showing you how to do this, we're going to use the USD Madrid Center. We're going to go ahead and click on the Finances tab. If you have an open application for a program, then you'll want to use that one. If you don't, then you can pick anyone. We're going to scroll all the way down here, and you'll see an additional estimated expenses, estimated cost of living abroad at the bottom. There's going to be a link that will guide you to a non-USD affiliated page that will show you the average cost of living here. So when you scroll down, you'll see a lot of different options. We've converted the currency from the local currency, which is the euro, to the US dollar. And so it gives you an idea of what the average cost would be abroad versus here. So what you're going to do now is, if we go back to our presentation, Nena, thank you so much. We are going to ask you to do that. So in the chat, let's start with the hamburger, or a combo meal, I think is one of the options, or lunch. Can you go ahead and post in the chat the country that you've either applied to or the one you're looking up right now? And what is the cost of, if the cheeseburger isn't on there, what is the average cost of a lunch plate? So go ahead in the chat, let us know the country and the cost of a lunch plate, and let's see what the differences are. All right, Trent says Italy, it looks like the cost of a combo plate is about $10. That's probably not bad for lunch, probably comparable to most places in the US. What about some other countries did everyone else look up? And I also just want to point out, this is very casual. We want this to be a very useful presentation for you. We have a few slides to kind of help guide the conversation, but if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or post in the chat. Or if you need assistance with this exercise, do just let us know. We'd be happy to help. South Korea, $584. Look at that cost comparison. All right, Nicole's in the lead right now with cheapest lunch combo in South Korea. Man, I can't remember the last time you can get a lunch combo for $5. Greece, $9. Okay, so very comparable to Italy. That would make sense. They're not too far away from one another over in Europe. And Nena's actually from Greece. Nena, does that sound about right?
Yeah, I would say so. Depending on if you go to a McDonald's or an actual like Greek fast food place, it sounds pretty right on point.
Madrid, $8. All right. Madrid is a pretty affordable city. So right now we got South Korea is the cheapest. Madrid. Oh, here comes Japan. Christy looked up Japan. $7. Okay, awesome. Anyone else, if you're still kind of looking up for this exercise, like please feel free to post it. We want you to have the kind of skills here to be able to do this on your own for some other budgeting we'll be doing later. Okay, so we did that for a combo meal. That's excellent. You can do it for the rest of these as well. For the purpose of our presentation, we don't need to go through all of them. So I'll go ahead and hop over the next slide we have. So a couple other things. We have a link there for additional estimated expenses that you all found in order to compare the cost for combo lunches. But you can do this conversion on your own as well. Google is a great search engine to check. You also want to double check the currency converter. So what we did here is we're thinking about going to Australia, for example. How much is $1 to Australian dollars? So in the chat, everyone listed what the combo lunch plate might cost would be in dollars. But it's important to know that whatever the local currency is that was next to that price, there is a conversion for how far your US dollar is actually going to go. Is it cheaper to live abroad, or is it actually going to cost more? In this example, we're using the currency converter. Oanda is one of them. And we put in the US dollar and how that converts to the Australian dollar. So $1 equals 1.46 Australian dollars, which actually means your money is going a teeny bit farther or less. Christy, it's almost double or 1.5 times, or the reverse. And these prices, the currency conversion rates always fluctuate. So you'll want to monitor those if you're planning on going abroad. It does give you an idea, while something may seem cheap abroad, in the local currency, what is that converting to in dollars? Because that's probably what your bank is going to be connected to, is dollars. So that being said, I'm going to pass it off to Christy for the next few slides.
Awesome. So when you're looking at our programs, you may be considering it looks like actually in our group today that we have some students who are looking to go abroad for a semester, and some that are looking to go abroad for a short-term program, which is usually about 3 weeks abroad through one of our USD short-term programs. So just kind of want to break down those cost differences and what that might look like for you, and how you can even find out what to expect for the cost of your particular program. So essentially on the same program page that you found the link for your cost comparison exercise that we just did, you'll also find that is the program page where you're going to find out a lot of information about the particular program and location that you're looking at. And so if you look at the top of that financial page, you're going to get a good overview and a good picture and idea of what the costs are that are involved in participating in that particular program. So for both of them, you can see I have for our short term here, London, that we just took an example of our London summer program that's really popular that we run every summer. And so it's probably a little bit small here. So I'll just try to tell you exactly what it says, but it will show you here what the cost is on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side, we'll show you like what that cost actually is. So you'll have a program fee and tuition and an application fee for a short-term program. So for these programs, you're being charged USD tuition. And that's actually the case for both semester and short-term programs. Just as if you're here on USD's campus, you pay USD your tuition directly. What the difference is for a short-term program, you're going to get a unique tuition discount on your per unit cost for the tuition for a short-term program. So USD is really awesome. We have, internationalization as woven throughout the entire mission of who USD is. So USD has decided to help make these short-term international experiences more affordable for students. So you're roughly paying about half the cost of tuition to go on a study abroad program than if you were taking that same course here on USD's campus. So you get a pretty significant discount there to study abroad for a short-term program with USD. And then on top of that, though, you are being charged a program fee. And that program fee is going to encompass a lot of pieces that are finances that are related to your courses and course program activities. So it'll cover your housing for the whole 3 weeks that you're there. It will cover a couple of your meals. So you'll still pay for most of your meals on your own, but it will cover a couple meals. It will cover your program excursions, whether that's part of your class, like a field experience you're going to be doing, or maybe it's a cultural immersive experience that the program is doing. Those costs will be covered. And that's what's included in part of that program fee. And then you'll be charged a $250 application fee. So you get a nice snapshot right off the bat of like, what are you being charged for this particular program? For semesters, obviously you're going for a longer period of time over the course of 4 or 5 months, but you do still have the $250 application fee. You have the USD tuition for a semester, just as if you're on USD's campus. And then we've included a housing estimate. This is something that you will pay directly to the partner university or a third party affiliate to secure your housing. That's not through USD, but we did provide a general estimated cost of living for those 4 or 5 months that you would be abroad on that program, just to give you a better sense of budgeting for that particular program. So, and at the bottom, you'll see that it kind of totals what that program cost is for you. So those are like some of the largest costs of participating in these programs, but that's not everything. So if you scroll down, you'll get to read a little bit more about each one of those line items that I just discussed, but it also shares with you a list of additional estimated expenses that you should be considering as well. And some of these you can find out just as we did with that calculator to get a comparison of what those costs might look like in that country. But you'll need to purchase your own airfare. You'll need to get your own housing, which is why we provided the housing estimate. Most of your meals will be on your own. Personal expenses. This is obviously going to range greatly depending on, are you going to do a lot of traveling on your own? Do you want to eat out at some really fancy restaurants? Are you going to do some grocery shopping? What sort of, souvenirs do you want to bring home with you? So those personal expenses you'll want to make sure that you budget for as well. Local transportation, if it's part of a program excursion, would be included in the cost of the program. But if you're doing personal travel throughout the program, which you will have time to do, you want to think about what that cost looks like for you as well. Go ahead, Nina. And so just these other cost considerations, I already discussed that you need to purchase your own airfare for both our short-term and semester programs. And you book that all on your own. So you just want to make sure you could get a really cheap flight, but maybe it could be really restrictive in, cancellation fees. You can find websites that help you find a good airline deal. You just want to know what you're signing up for. This is usually a more significant cost, maybe $1,000 or $2,000+ in order to get a round trip ticket. So definitely want to budget for that. You will need a passport to study abroad, and you very likely will need a visa in some capacity. If you're going in for a short-term program, you may be able to enter as a tourist, and you might not be required to get a visa, or that cost might be a little bit lower, but if it still may be required of you. And if you are going for a semester, it's very, very likely that you will be required to obtain a student visa, which does have some costs associated with it as well. And finally, just considering working abroad. do you have a job here in the US that you rely upon to, help you live your day-to-day life and afford that? Because it's very likely that you won't be able to work while you're abroad due to restrictions in your visa. You just might not be able to do that. So how are you going to make up for that money once you're abroad? Are you able to do some more work on the front end of things before you go abroad? There are some countries that will allow you to work. So you just want to do some investigation on if that's something you're interested in, if it is something that you are able to do while you're there on a student visa as well. Because those costs are, especially for a semester abroad, are definitely something you want to think about. Go ahead, Nina. And I will hand it back to Brittany.
Thank you. All right, so a couple other tips we have for these responsible travelers that are here today planning ahead. A couple things. You want to apply for scholarships. So here we broke it down between short-term opportunities and semester opportunities. This is especially important if cost is something you are concerned about. Obviously, it's something at least on your mind if you're all here today. And it's important to consider these different kinds of potential funding opportunities. So planning early is the best way to do that, identifying when scholarship deadlines are, when you'd have to apply, what is entailed for both short-term or semester programs, and then also identifying what USD scholarship opportunities there are. We do have a list of those on our website. They'll fall under the financing part of our website. So you can read more about it there. But a couple other important things to note: if you currently receive a Pell Grant, that actually gives you a 40% discount on our short-term program fee. So Christy talked about the difference between, subsidized tuition, so a discounted tuition for short-term programs, and then the program fee, which for short-term programs often includes your housing for the 3 weeks you're abroad, activities, and some meals. The Pell Grant recipients actually get 40% off that program fee. So you're getting a subsidized tuition and you're getting a discount on the program fee. So that is really helpful. There's also outside scholarships for, pretty much any study abroad program. We've listed a few here. So under the semester section, you can see if you currently receive USD financial aid that goes towards your tuition, because you'll be paying USD tuition when you go abroad with one of our semester programs, you're actually going to get the same amount of awards, scholarships, grants. We always recommend that students double check this with the Office of Financial Aid. So you can always email One Stop to ask about that. But that's a huge reason why we have such a high percentage of students go abroad for a semester, because whether or not you're going abroad, you're paying the same tuition. So the fact that you can be somewhere else in the world, using your financial aid towards the cost of tuition abroad makes it really helpful for students. We also have other USD scholarships and grants. So you've got the Madrid Center Scholarship that's up to $1,000 towards your program fee. There's a computer science scholarship if you happen to be a computer science major. And if you don't already know, there's something called the Alumni Endowed Scholarship, and that's for USD in general. But applying to that kind of scholarship really helps fund part of your experience at USD if you're a recipient. And then consider other awards you may have, like ROTC funding, the GI Bill, any kind of other specific awards or like merit scholarships you may have. Also, don't forget to save. If you're a student, like I was when I was at USD, you might have a part-time job here or there. You may be planning long-term for this, so you've been saving for a couple of years to study abroad. Think about how you can budget to cut out unnecessary spending now, so you have the funds that you want when you're abroad. That way you can do the traveling you want to do, you can go to the restaurants you want to, try all the things, get the souvenirs, as long as you're staying within your own budget. I would say the number one regret we hear from students is, I should have budgeted more. So if you're someone who you're already going, oop, that's me, I'm someone who really likes to spend, just consider what your priorities are when you're thinking about studying abroad. Is it the travel aspect, or would you rather spend it more on, food and like going out, that kind of thing? So while you're abroad, consider groceries versus eating out. Avoid being in tourist traps where prices are inflated, just like in San Diego, if you're going to go to a major chain restaurant that's in downtown San Diego. Prices might be more expensive than that taco shop cart that you find in a very different, less touristy area. So just like any city in the world, the closer you are to the city center where there's a lot of tourists, prices can be really inflated. Use local transit or walk if you're able to. Many locations, it's very easy to walk. Don't forget student ID discounts or student discounts. And talk to some locals, including on-site staff, who can help you identify great deals in the city that you'll be living in. So we'll go to the next slide. So creating your budget, there's a couple things you can do. One, you probably want to identify the program or at least the country or city where you're hoping to study abroad. In some cases, we have multiple programs in the same city. So maybe determine, what area, what country you want to be studying in. You can do this for a few different programs if you're kind to determine, just like we did in the chat earlier, in the earlier exercise, certain countries are more expensive to live than others. So maybe if that's a big factor of yours, maybe identifying a country where the cost of living is very low. Think about the tuition, application fee, and housing estimates, and any additional costs that you want to have during your study abroad experience. Now, Christy just posted in the chat a budget planning worksheet. This is a great option for you. It's just a pre-filled Excel where you can actually list out these estimated costs. So for number 2 here, we're talking about list the average cost of monthly living. Number 3, make sure you identify what the conversion rate is, US dollars to whatever the conversion rate would be for the country you're looking at. And then subtract your scholarship and awards. If you get a huge tuition scholarship, you're not going to be paying the 26 something thousand dollars for USD tuition for a semester. You'll want to put that total cost minus any scholarships, awards, or additional funding you have, savings included. And then use that budget calculator we have to really understand the whole picture of what the costs are going to be. If you have questions about this and you've already opened an application, feel free to contact your study abroad advisor. If you're just planning ahead, play around with this, really understand what is realistic for your goals when you want to study abroad. And Christy's going to take us into the next slide.
So I briefly chatted a little bit about financial, the budget for semesters and short-term programs. So I'm just going to speak a little bit more specifically about how financial aid and scholarships that you're receiving at USD might, how those look with these programs. So for a short-term program for intersession or summer, essentially financial aid is something additional you would need to apply for. So if you're already receiving financial aid from USD or have scholarships, they don't automatically apply for the intersession or the summer terms. So you would want to contact the financial aid office in order to submit a new additional application to be considered for aid for those particular terms. So be in touch with them to learn more about your eligibility and the next steps to complete those forms. Honestly, a lot of students are a little hesitant to do that because usually that does come back in the form of loans. But it is at least another way that you could receive, aid to help you be eligible to actually go. So it's really looking personally at your financial situation and what makes sense for you. But I want everyone to be aware that this option does exist if that's something you're interested in considering. Luckily, already USD has reduced that tuition for everybody. And if you are Pell eligible, you do receive a opportunity scholarship that also helps cover some of those program costs up to 40%. But that's kind of how financial aid works for a short-term program. For a semester program, your financial aid and scholarships will go abroad with you for at least one semester abroad. If you're interested in going abroad for additional semesters, you might possibly be eligible to have your aid travel with you. But you do have to go on particular programs in order for that to be the case. So contact us and let us know whenever you are planning, if that is something you're interested in doing, is going abroad for a year. let us know as early as possible so we can help direct and guide you into the appropriate programs that make most sense for you. We don't know the nuances of your particular financial aid awards. So again, really important for you to be in touch with the financial aid office. I recommend that you email One Stop, let them know, hey, I am studying abroad in the upcoming term, or I plan to study abroad in such and such a term. Can you put me in touch with financial aid so I can learn more about the details of my financial aid and scholarships and how they would apply for study abroad? We generically can say, yes, they'll go abroad with you for one semester, but we just don't know what those details look like. So you want to be aware if there were any that would not go abroad for you so you can budget appropriately. The most common one I'm aware of would be Federal Work Study. Federal Work Study is a US federal-based program for students to work on campus. And so if you're going internationally, that's just not going to apply. You're not going to be able to get that amount of money to go abroad with you. So you would need to find another way to make up those funds if that's something you rely on. Oh, and I already talked about this. How many semesters of study abroad are you eligible to take abroad with you? Again, contact us if you have more questions about this. Essentially, if you want to go abroad for a year, at least one of your semesters abroad must be an exchange program or the USD Madrid Center. We have affiliate programs and we have exchange programs. We don't need to get into the details of that right now. But if you are looking to go abroad for a year, that difference is very important for your financial aid. So let us know so we can help you plan accordingly. And then for this one, Brittany, do you have more information on this one? Oh, I already covered all this. Federal Work Study, grants. So I already covered all this information already.
Yeah.
I was ahead of myself.
We covered a lot of it. If we can go back really quick, there's just two things I want to emphasize is that forward one, sorry. Yeah, so the exceptions there, again, if you're getting funding for your housing or your room and board or your accommodations and you're doing a semester program, the housing costs are going to be separate, that you'll pay to the partner directly for whatever housing you choose. So if you do have accommodation funding for a semester program, that typically doesn't apply. An exception may be the Madrid Center. I'd have to double check on that. But Christy went over everything else. I just wanted to clarify that the financial aid awards for semester programs that roll over are towards tuition. So if you do have accommodation funds, that's not the same thing as getting scholarships for tuition.
And certainly check with the financial aid office so they can tell you specifically, because they'll know based on your program that you're going abroad on and what your financial aid package is, what exactly that would look like for you.
Exactly. And so, you'll want to, even if you're studying abroad, you'll want to follow business as usual as far as submitting your FAFSA by the priority deadline so you can get your financial aid awards from USD ahead of time. And your financial aid for a study abroad program should disperse at least 10 days before the first day of the start date. So when you do have 10 days prior to studying abroad, your financial aid will disperse to that charge on your student account. So some key takeaways: know that study abroad is possible. I was a USD undergraduate student. My first passport was to study abroad. And I had saved money from babysitting for several years in order to pay for all the travel I wanted to do. I'm extremely lucky that I was able to make it happen. Maybe didn't travel as much as my peers, but it was an exceptional experience nonetheless. I continued to work part-time as much as I could to save for that. So that's something you can do as well. Especially now in the age of social media, there's so many things you could do remotely that probably require a fraction of your time than having to appear in person for certain jobs. So there's a lot of things you can do to get creative in how to fund your experience. Do the work now, start early, create options. And what we mean by that is, explore what opportunities and funding opportunities there may be for you. Email One Stop to double check your financial aid package if you're thinking of going abroad soon. And don't forget to apply to a program. Our deadlines and everything are on our website. We're here to help you in all of that process. And we want to help you make this dream a reality. So this is our virtual office. You can see all the advisors have their Bitmojis on the right-hand side there. And we're showing you this because if we go to the next slide, if you visit our link tree, which the link is down there, it is also housed in the bio of our Instagram page. You'll find the virtual offices for all the advisors if you're ready to schedule a study abroad appointment. So that way you know how to contact us, how to find our availability, and we'd be happy to talk to you about any opportunities you're looking into. And that is all we have. We do want to open it up to any questions now, maybe specific financing questions that you may have. You can either put it in the chat or you can unmute yourself, but you have our attention, and we're happy to kind of answer any financial questions you may have at this time.
I also just dropped a form, sorry.
Perfect. No, that's what I was gonna say.
In the chat, I also just dropped a Google form that I highly recommend that everybody fills out. It's quick, fast to fill out, but we're gonna gather some of your information for coming today, and we'll automatically send you an email that has a ton of resources, things that we talked about today, things about study abroad, in one unified collaborative email. So if you fill that out, you will get that resource from us automatically for attending today. So thank you, but we're open for questions.
I have a question. If I'm doing the double degree program and then when I come back, am I still eligible for a semester abroad that will apply like with my USD tuition? Like, you know how they like overlap, how they're the same? Am I still eligible for that if I'm not?
That's a very specific question. If you are doing a double degree program, most often than not, you won't be able to do an alternate semester abroad, because whether or not you're abroad during the double degree program, you are on a very strict academic schedule. So you don't really have the liberty to kind of pick and choose the courses you want to take. It's planned out for you. And it's specifically designed for certain courses taken at your partner university for the double degree program and certain courses taken specifically on USD's campus. So if you want to talk about that more, you can definitely reach out to your study abroad advisor for the double degree program. But because of the nuances and specifics of how the double degree program functions, that's probably not going to be an option even to do an alternate semester. A short-term program, maybe, but in either case, you'll want to check with your study abroad advisor just to ensure that you're not going to miss out on the required courses you need for the double degree program. Any other questions about anything else?
If people don't mind sharing, I'm also just curious what your thoughts were coming into this event. You know, did we answer questions that you were hoping to have addressed today? Or do you just feel like you have very specific questions? Just kind of get a sense of where everyone's at with the information we covered today.
Yeah, I was just coming in just to learn a little bit more about financing. So I thought it was really helpful to like know about all these resources that will help me plan ahead. And so I'm not going into it like completely blind, especially just even for like travel budgeting. Thank you.
Good to see you, Nicole. Thanks for being here. Trent, you had a question?
No, I was just going to make a comment on the presentation. And I was just saying that I thought it was cool that you guys had like the page that had American dollars to, for me, euros for like a burger. Like it was cool to see that, so you can like project how much money you need.
Good, great feedback. I'm glad that's helpful. You never know but we just wanted to show you that that exists. And it is something to think about because sometimes you don't consider the currency conversion for where you're going. So good to
especially
know.
If you're going abroad for a semester, you know, those costs can really add up. So the cost of living is definitely something to consider because you can see how much that can vary depending on, you know, which location you're going to.
Yeah. Anyone else have any feedback before heading out? Ricardo, Adanya, you can post in the chat or you can unmute yourself. Damien, if you had any questions, you know, just let us know, or comments about the presentation. That would be helpful for us moving forward.
Yeah, I just have a question. My Wi-Fi had been like cutting out and I saw that you guys were recording. Is there any way I can have this sent to me?
Yeah, we're for most of our presentations, they're actually going to be on our YouTube channel. So if you just go on YouTube and type in USD Study Abroad, also if you're following us on Instagram, you can find our YouTube through the link in our bio. The link tree does have all the links you could ever want for USD Study Abroad. So we typically do publish these there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
I would check back maybe in a week on the YouTube to give us a chance to edit and post.